Okay, so today I got a short tutorial here just to explain the difference between absolute reference and cell reference. So I will use an example where we're just going to make a multiplication table and we'll find a product of 8 times integers 1 through 10. Alright, so I'll come down here, I start my formula with a equal sign. Alright, and then I use cell references, and I'm going to use a relative reference here. In relative references, we do not have dollar signs by them. All right, and I'll use a relative reference over here too. So I got B1, cell B1 times cell A2. Okay, and that of course will give me 8. All right. Now with relative references here, what you'll find is when I use the fill handle to copy it down, or use copy and paste for that matter, it will increment or change as we go down a list here. Okay, so we're going to find we get some pretty funky answers here. And we get 8 here. Okay, 8 times 1, but let's observe the behavior. Okay, over here in this cell now we have B2 times A3. Alright, let's go down to the next cell here. We have B3 times A4. Okay, so what we're finding here is that it's incrementing, but not quite incrementing the way that we would like to see it. We like to see A4 here, but we'd like this to stay B3 the whole way through. Alright, so let's do this example again, and I'm going to introduce the idea here of an absolute reference. Alright, so when we come down here, we grab our fill handle, we copy and paste this. We want A2 to be incremented to A3, to be incremented to A4, A5, etc., all the way down through my list here. But we always want the cell referenced here to be B1. We don't want it to change when we copy it or when we use that fill handle. Alright, so what I'll do here is I'll change this to a absolute reference. That means absolute never changes. Versus A2 is going to be a relative reference which will change. Alright, so you can do that by just putting a dollar sign in front of B, a dollar sign in front of 1. Or another way of doing it on your kind of a shortcut on your keyboard, if you hit the F4 key, I'll hit it here. See how it changes it to $B, $1? That changes it to an absolute reference. And really the F4 key is a toggle, so you can go absolute reference. This is known as a mixed reference, which I'll talk about in another video. And this is also known as a mixed reference. Okay? And then we're back to a relative reference. Alright, so we want an absolute reference times a relative reference for A2. Alright, so I get the same result here, but let's go ahead and use the fill handle. I'll just pull that on down here, and presto, I think we have our product of 8 times each of these integers correctly calculated. And let's just randomly grab one here. I'll grab 8 times 5, which is 40. Whoops, hit the wrong key there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just display that formula there. And see how when I do this now, A6 is incremented. And again, A6 is going to be a relative reference versus $B, $1. B1 is an absolute reference. And we don't want that to change.